Welcome to the Catalyst Sale Podcast. Many of us struggle with sales, whether it's from confidence, comfort, and just not wanting to be salesy. We want to help our customers. We know we can, but we complicate the process. This podcast is designed to help professionals like you improve at sales through process, practice, frameworks, and thinking differently about what you already know. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and with us is the founder of Catalyst Sale, Mike Simmons. Mike, what are we going to talk about this episode?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know what we're going to talk about, it's kind of hard for me to lead an episode.
No, that's what we're going to talk about. I don't know.
Well, I don't know either.
So before we lose everybody in this,
might be too late.
First, yeah, we might have lost everybody. Before we lose everybody on the who's on first, what's on second kind of joke. Yeah, we're going to talk about the importance of the phrase, I don't know. It shocks me that there are so many people who are uncomfortable with just saying, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think people are comfortable with it, or do you think there are people who are uncomfortable with it?
Yes, I think there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable with it. But when I think of people that say it, I don't know, there's something different about it. And I don't know how much I've thought about this until now, but there is something different about people that say, I don't know.
And I think it's important, like you being able to say it directly. I don't know. Not, I don't know. I mean, it's just, there's a casual way of, I forget who was talking about this the other day, but somebody was talking about the importance of commas and the importance of voice inflection and all of those kind of things. In the context of I don't know, the other thing that's really important to follow up with, just so that you don't sound like you're dismissive in this, is I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I don't know, but I'll get an answer. I don't know, but I'll get back to you. If you follow I don't know with any of those things, I'll find out, I'll get an answer, I'll get back to you. You improve the confidence of the other people in the room. It's not just an I don't know that's dismissive and disconnected and one where you just don't care, or an I don't know because you just don't have enough experience. It's I don't know, but I'm going to find out. And that starts to bring a higher level of confidence. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people struggle with being able to say, I don't know. They lack confidence in using that phrase or using that statement.
Yeah, well, first of all, if you just say, I don't know, and don't say anything else, you kind of come across like a teenage boy. I'm finding out now that when you have one in the house, you realize that 3-word answer followed by nothing else is common.
You sounds like shots have been fired.
But I think it's really interesting the way you told it. What I got out of it is it comes across more confident to say, I don't know, but I will find out, than to try to fill in the blanks on something you don't know. That's really interesting that it takes more confidence in yourself to say, I don't know.
Well, and as soon as you start, is it the Mark Twain quote? I forget if it's a Mark Twain quote, but it's something to the effect of, it's better to be thought of an idiot than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Yeah. Mark Twain. Yeah. Or my granny. I've heard it both ways.
So, and to your point that you've made a couple of times, once you say it a couple of times, you can kind of go, as Mark Twain has said, as I have said, as I say, or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's right. That originally I think was a Zig Ziglar quote, but I've said it so much, it's just what I always say now.
I just attribute it to you. And so think about this. You get into this situation where we try to have this level of confidence. And for me, I'm involved with organizations where we deal with a lot of technology. And a lot of times that technology, not only has it changed in the last couple of weeks and couple of months or couple of years, but it will change in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, and couple of years. And it's really hard to maintain a level of expertise around that technology. Now, we've got resources inside the organization who have that expertise, and we can bring them in to help support some detailed questions when we have the right technical people in the room. But I would sound like an idiot if I start talking about APIs and REST integrations and AICC and SCORM and all of these other acronyms that the technical people will use when they're having their conversations. I'm never going to be the most technical person in the room, and I don't ever want to be the most technical person in the room. However, I can facilitate very good conversations between those people who are technical and those people who are not as technical. And I have a high level of comfort and confidence in just saying, I don't know, but I will get back to you. I will find out and I will get back to you.
So why does that matter? If a prospect or even a client hears you say that, what difference does it make?
Well, I believe that they start to get the confidence on their end that I'm not just going to sell them a bill of goods and make up a bunch of things because it sounds right and mislead them. I have the confidence and the comfort in being able to just say, I don't know, because not everybody knows everything. Not everybody knows everything. I mean, there are a lot of people who try to pass on the impression that they have all of this experience and that they know everything and they've gone through all of these things. But I think there's a Yogi Berra quote, you don't know until you know. I think that's from him.
That does sound like something he would say. You mentioned earlier about follow-up. You have to follow up, I don't know, with I will find out. Well, I also think you have to follow up, I don't know, I'll find out, with actually coming back to the prospect, to the person, and letting them know what you found out. You can't just say, I'll find out, and then don't do anything with it.
100%. You have to, and this is where it's important for you to take notes. And I know you are a big fan of the Pilot G2 pen. I like the bold version of that. So that's the 1.0. I have 3 colors on my desk at all times. I have a black pen, I have a red pen, and I have a blue pen. And I use these pens when I'm taking notes to highlight certain pieces of information. If I'm in the conversation with somebody and there's something I have to take as an action item, a next step that I need to deliver on, I write that in red. The reason I write it in red, whether I'm on my iPad, and no, I don't use my G2 while I'm writing on my iPad, but whether I'm writing on my iPad or I'm writing on a note card, I have these colors available to me so that at the end of the call, when I'm summarizing the discussion, I can quickly highlight what our next steps are, who's responsible for those next steps, and if we know when those next steps will be taken care of. So it's critical to not just say, I don't know, let me get back to you, to follow that up with, the last time we spoke, we talked about this. Here's the detail behind that. Or the last time we spoke, we talked about this. I'd like to bring on one of our experts to talk about it in more detail because he or she has some questions that they'd like to ask you or your technical folks. And what's really cool about this is when you bring new people to a conversation, you can ask the customer or the prospect or the person on the other end, whoever it is that you're talking to expand access to other members of their team. Because in some cases, the person who asked that question about integration may also not be the technical person. They may be going off a list of requirements that they need to give. They might not have the detail. Now we can bring a couple of technical people together in the room, and now we've got an objective for our next call and a reason to continue to advance conversations inside the organization, a reason to ask some additional questions. So, Jody, you hit the nail on the head. It's not just enough to say, I don't know, let me get back to you. You actually have to get back to people. You have to take action.
It's your 3-pin system. That's really interesting that you do that, because I usually, of course, I use the G2, but I usually just have a couple of different colors. But one thing I use in note taking is a star. In my notepad today, I always use a yellow legal pad and a Pilot G2 pen, and I put a star by something. And then when we're done, I'll go back through my notes. Might not be right after our conversation, but it'll be later today. And if there's a star next to something, that to me is an indicator you either put this on a list or you take care of it right now. And that usually depends on how much time it would take to do it. So if I'm talking to Mike and there's something I don't know, and I said, I don't know, but I'll get back to you, I'll write that down and then put a star next to it. That's my personal indicator that, all right, take care of this. When you see this paper again, if there's a star next to it, you need to do something with it.
I've got to decide to take some kind of action, right? I've either got to do it right now, or I've got to put a time associated with getting it done at some other point, or maybe I've got to delegate it out to somebody else, depending on what the structure of the organization is. But yeah, I think using stars, Another thing that I'll do is I will create squares. So I'll highlight that area, or I'll use some kind of a marker or a circle or something to indicate that that was a very important piece of information. And I use note cards when I'm taking notes. And one of the things that used to drive me absolutely nuts is I could never figure out, when I write on one side of the note card and then write on the other side of the note card, which side was the side of the note card that was supposed to go first. So I've actually gotten into the habit of, on the first, when I start on a new note card, I will write on it in kind of a portrait mode. And then when I flip over to the back side of that note card, I automatically go to landscape mode. And then I always know over the course of a call, if I'm stacking these note cards, how to keep track of what followed what relative to the cadence or the structure of the call. I'm doing more with digital note taking as far as using the iPad, but so there you go. There's another tip or trick that you can use to help keep your stuff clear. I will write in portrait mode the first time I pick up a card. And then if I go on to the backside, I always do that now in landscape mode.
And I think part of the key is to find, if you're going to implement a system like this, the key is to find something that works for you. If that's the way Mike does it, that's great. If it's the way I do it, if that works for you, then go with it. Because I like to handwrite on the paper. But it's just finding a system that works for you, that if you say, I don't know, that you will make note of it, you'll find the answer, you'll figure it out, and you'll get back to someone. So whatever system you need to put in place to make that happen, I think it's not so much that it's Mike's system, even though it could be, it's just a system you will actually use. That's the most effective one.
And if you use it over and over again and you deliver over and over again, you set expectations and execute flawlessly in the way that you work with your customers, you will build a reputation as someone who helps solve problems, who helps get things done. And then you'll be shocked by the number of times that people will send questions to you that they're working on, because they know even if you don't know the answer, you're going to figure out where to go to get the answer. So leverage I don't know, follow up with an actual answer, execute, deliver a solution, and more people will count on you.
There you go. And usually when you hear the term, if someone says, Mike's a know-it-all, that's not usually a compliment.
Well, I don't know it all. But my depth, the depth of my knowledge is limited to, God, I don't even know what it's limited to anymore. So there you go. I don't know what the depth of my knowledge is limited to anymore. I'm pretty good at sales and process and frameworks and simplifying things, and I can draw up a pretty mean whiteboard.
Well, later today, when Jen asks you, what did you and Jody record about today, you get to recycle that whole I don't know bit.
Yeah, that probably will go over very well, I'm sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you for listening to the Catalyst Sale Podcast.